This balcony is one of the important spots, one of the important observatories that we have in Sweden. We have to find number of photos and put together the geography that we saw pointed out when we were on top of Caiaphas. One of it, over there, you can see the seminars. And but let's focus on the geography, because we are now in the midst of the city. The Bible doesn't have a biblical, but that became the name of the building. Somewhere over there. We're going to be there, so I won't go through. It's a burial site, as Pastor Jerry pointed out, and many of the homes are connected to burial caves. And burial caves became part of people's homes. It can be a kitchen, a storage, a bedroom, whatever. There is a cave already. We don't care about entrance in. We use the things for whatever the family needs. Follow the burial that comes to we are coming to the most basic where the burial is. And we are going to be there one of the days. David City is this narrow hill down under between the Kidron Valley and the valley of the Chief River, which is the valley that comes from all that how the world goes between Judea and the hill on the other side. This is the
city of David.
The valley of the Chief River and the valley. So you understand. Let's get a little closer here. Don't disappear into this cave. Come on in. As I said, the excavations in this area were actually made in the 30s, early 30s. The 1917, when England took over and received the mandate over this area in the 20s, early 20s, from the League of Nations, there was a big change in the land. Unlike before, when it was under the Ottoman Empire, it becomes under England, which is a Western superpower, a different civilization. And we'll have some other opportunities to talk about the competition between the superpowers over dominating this land. France, England, Germany, United States, every superpower is interested in this area for a number of reasons. Geopolitical, first of all, economical, and of course, it's the land of the Bible. And naturally, this area attracts scholars to study the place, and from the late 20s, early 30s of the 20th century, archaeological excavations are being performed in different places. Some of them by fabulous archaeologists, some of them by archaeologists that are not so great. But this is where we are. We are in what's left of the house. If you're expected to find a floor, walls, in most of the cases we don't have it. What we have left of the homes is the cistern. And this is something that you're going to see in ancient Jerusalem, that every house, especially in an affluent area like the upper city, will have a cistern, number of cisterns under the house, because the quality of life in the house will be how much water is the house able to collect and how much water they're able to store. So there is a cistern, there is maybe a patio, but there is a house on top of it. And water is collected into the cistern from the brackish water, from water that is running on the street, from the roof of the house. And the more water collected, the better living conditions are going to be. And we'll go out when we will, and you'll see that there are cisterns next to cisterns. Many of them are connected, many of them are not. Many of them, or cisterns, indicate that it is a very congested and an area that is quite crowded. We are in what used to be a cistern. Of course, over the years there were changes made. The top of the cistern collapsed. When did it collapse? Impossible to tell. There's a roof that is set when the church came on top, and there is a cistern next to us that you can look through the window and you'll be looking into a cistern. In other words, this is kind of a basement, and the house is above it. If we'll assume for a second that the top of the cistern collapsed when that was being quarried, you can imagine yourself that they don't give up. They cover it and they made it into some kind of a basement, some kind of a storage place, and we have some evidence that it was a storage place. For instance, if you look there in the corner, you can see that there's like a little pit with a groove going into it. Imagine yourself when that was made, the floor was actually paved, maybe with a mosaic, but it was not the rough floor that we see today. It's all smooth. And since they store, let's say if it's olive oil, wine, it's in clay jars, and clay breaks very often, so the floor is engineered in such a way that it will collect the liquid into those little pits, and they'll be able to save some of it. There are holes on the top of the floor. Some people will say that this is how people were tortured, by hanging them from the ceiling. Not necessarily so. Those holes are actually to hang things from a ceiling and not to put it on the floor to prevent it from rodents and ants and so on, to make it difficult for...
This is not helping anymore.
Down the road down here, you can see the steps. Going all the way down, they believe this is a very Catholic. Probably going to walk down.
Remember we walked past
Where we were before, the upper room was up this way somewhere. You can probably walk down there to go over all the way to the east side of the... over there where the Mount of Olives, Garden of Gethsemane, and probably the very path they used. And these stones would, some of these stones would have been the original stones. They walked down pretty crazy.